Hey guys, it's Mr. Bateman in the library, and sorry I can't be with you in person today. This is one of my favorite projects to do in the library, and I'm disappointed we can't do it in person because it normally gives us an opportunity to use a lot of the great resources that we have in the library, but we can't be in the library, so we're going to have to make do with what we have outside of the library. I'm going to go ahead and start by sharing my screen and show you that this is a form that we usually use with this project. It's kind of a checklist, so we can find what it is that we are looking for. But first, we should probably talk about what it is we're looking for. For this particular project, you're going to want to find literary analysis, and that is different than book reviews. This, for example, is a book review. It is a review of Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen, and usually reviews are about a paragraph long and have just a tiny smidgen of analysis. Most of it is plot summary. For example, life is good for Jacob. He's about to graduate. His parents are killed in a car crash. Almost by accident, he joins the circus. He falls in love. Tells us the novel travels back in time, between 2 points in time, actually, and that the ending of both stories is a little too cheerful to be believed, but just like the circus, the magic of the story and the writing convince you to suspend your disbelief. Not really any analysis there. It's just a quick summary of the book and whether or not you might be interested in it. So we're going to try to find something that is more in depth for this particular book and any of the books that you guys are reading for this project. So we're going to start with this form. And again, we usually use this form as a kind of a checklist, but there's a lot of things on this form that we can't get to because they are physically in the library. However, something that I've taken out of the library and scanned for you guys is something called Novels for Students, a great place to start for this particular project. Now, usually Novels for Students is hit and miss. Some students have their works in Novels for Students, others of them don't. But as luck would have it, all of the books that Mrs. Click gave me a list of this marking period are included in Novels for Students. So everyone should be able to use Novels for Students as one of their sources. I'm going to give Mrs. Click the link to Novels for Students so she can put it in Schoology, and that is going to be a link to this folder in my Google Drive. And you see that it lists all these novels for students, as well as the title of each one, so you can look for the one or ones in some case that are appropriate for you. I'm going to go with Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides as my example, and show you why Novels for Students is so great. This is the main page of it. Let me make this a little bit smaller so I can look at it better. Going down through here, I'll point out all the things that are available in the Novels for Students, and this isn't just for Middlesex. This will be for any of the titles that are in this series. They all have the same level of detail. So go down a little bit here. Keep going down. Every volume of Novels for Students, or rather, I should say every entry in Novels for Students, starts with an introduction to the novel. And there's the introduction to Middlesex. It will also include a quick biography on the author, in case you need some of that information, which I think you do. Keep going down a little bit more. Here's a plot summary. Well, I really don't need a plot summary. Why? Because I've already read the book. I know what happens, but it's included in here, so we'll recognize that it's there, but we don't necessarily need it. We'll just skip right past the plot summary. And we'll keep going down, and we'll find a section that is headed, this is a long book. We'll find a section that's headed Characters. This is a discussion of most, if not all, of the characters in the novel and what their main purpose for being in the story is. Kind of a nice way to have a listing of all the people that show up in a novel, particularly if it's a large cast of characters. It's nice to have a listing of them. So there's the characters. Keep going down here. And we find the themes. Now we're getting into the literary analysis. We saw the plot, we saw the characters. Let's look at the themes in this particular novel. And the way that I explain themes versus style, themes is what the author is trying to say. Style is how they say it. So in terms of themes for this particular novel, Eugenides is trying to say something about fate and free will, about coming of age, And then we get into the style. How does he talk about those themes? Well, in this case, through mythological allusions and self-reflexivity. Keep going down. If it's important to the novel, there'll also be a section on historical context. This novel very much has a historical context. And then we get to the critical overview. This is a brief review of what the critics thought of the book. We don't get the full reviews here, but we do get some quotes from different reviewers with kind of a snapshot, if you would, of how the book was received by the critics when it was first published. As we go further down, we get a list of sources that are used that you might be able to seek out as additional sources. And that is pretty much it. So a lot of information, 29 pages actually, of information on just that one book. And like I said, all of you will find at least one of your books in Novels for Students. So definitely look for that. All right, I'm going to go back to my guide here, and we will check off that we used Novels for Students. Let's go to the next one, Literature Resource Center. Literature Resource Center is one of the databases that is available through the library. We make it available, like all of our databases, through BravesLink. And this is one you have to go through BravesLink to get to. I'd like to put a link on Ms. Click's page, but you got to go through BravesLink to unlock it. So I'm going to go over to BravesLink, and where am I going to be looking? It's in BravesLink, okay. It's in the high school library folder. That makes sense. And I'm looking for Literature Resource Center. Okay, so here's BravesLink. And oh, I'm already in the high school library folder. So that's good. If you don't know where it is, you know that you can find it just in the folder called High School Library. That makes sense. Go ahead and open it up. And Literature Resource Center is what I'm looking for. Now, there are two databases that have similar names, and you're welcome to use both of them. First one is Literature Criticism Online. I'm not going to show you that one today. However, you are welcome to use it. The one I would recommend today is Literature Resource Center. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that from BravesLink, and it's going to stop me because for some reason we haven't been able to resolve how to get into these things through BravesLink directly. However, that's okay. It asks for the state library password, but you can also sign in with Google. And as long as you are signed in to your school Google account, which you should be if you're going through BravesLink, you should be able to easily click on sign in with Google. It might ask you who you are, and there I am. This is my school Google account, and then I am in to Gale Literature Resource Center. All of your books are covered in here, some to more depth than others. I'll stick with my novel, Middlesex, and the easiest way to see if your novel is in here is just to type in the name of your novel and see what comes up. And we see that it is recommending the novel Middlesex right there, so that's good. And I click on it, and it comes up with all of this information that is kind of about this novel. I'm not going to say exactly about this novel. I'm also going to blow this up a little bit, make it a little easier to see. Maybe not exactly about this novel, because maybe it just mentions the novel but doesn't really have a lot of information on it. What I really want to do is filter my results over here so that I can get results that are just about that novel. And the easiest way to do that is to click on name of work. And I see, oh, out of these 45 pieces of criticism, there's really only 24 that are about Middlesex. So I will click on that, and then I will apply that filter. And now I've just focused on those 24 pieces of lit criticism that are just about Middlesex. Now you can kind of get a sense of how long these are based on the word count, 657 words, 725 words, over 1,000 words on this one, all sorts of stuff here, which is good. All the resources that you potentially might be able to use. I'll also make a note of the date of these. We'll see that they are all being published around the same time, 2002, 2002, 2002. Here's one a little bit later, 2003. But I'm going to guess that this is probably about when the book was published. The book gets published, and then these literary analyses are also published afterwards. So I might be able to grab some of my criticisms from these. I'm going to grab the very first one here, Suffer the Children. So here's a review of Suffer the Children. Gives me a quick description of what's happening with this book. Tells me that the reviewer, Watman, describes Middlesex as a wonderful, funny, first-rate book, and hopefully they'll give me some details on why they think that in the course of the review. And you see it's longer than a paragraph too, so we're going to get a little bit more depth than we might have found in just a basic book review. So I read down through it and I decide, you know what, this is something that I'm going to use. No matter what it is that you are trying to say about your book, your goal is to try to find something to defend what you're trying to say, or to find new knowledge that you either agree with or disagree with and use that as a source as well. So I read through this. I decided, yes, this is something I can use in my project. So I am going to take it with me. And one of the options is to save it to my drive. This is the drive icon right here. I'm going to click it. And it comes up with a pop-up that says documents have been sent to Drive and will appear shortly. That's interesting. I wonder if they actually did. I'm going to go back to Drive and confirm that. This is my Drive, and if it put it in Drive, it will put it in a new folder, and sure enough, it did. Gale Literature Resource Center. I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and there it is, Suffer the Children. There's 2 copies in here because I put a copy in there earlier too. But that's nice. You don't have to necessarily print out or save these as PDFs. Just hit that send to Google Drive option and it'll automatically send the information to your drive for safekeeping. Oh, what I should also show you is what's also nice about the fact that it ended up in Google Drive is down here at the bottom of the article. I'll just scroll down. It tells you what the source citation looks like. And this is a very complicated source citation. So I'm very pleased that Gale Literature Resource Center gave me the citation that I can just take out and put in my bibliography for my project. So you'll find those in there as well. And that's just the first of many results that I found. And it's only the first of 24 pieces of literature criticism. There's also 2 biographies in here that also talk about Middlesex. Here's an overview, as well as some reviews and news articles that you might find in other places. So plenty of resources for Middlesex in this particular database. Now, the amount of criticism that you find is going to be based on the book that you chose. If you chose Middlesex, as we saw, there's a lot. Other books may not have as much. So I'm going to shift gears for a second and do another one which fits in that category, and that's Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. I'm going to do the same thing, search for Water for Elephants, and it does come up as a novel. But rather than the 24 things that we found for Middlesex, we only find 1 overview, some reviews, some discussion of it, but certainly not as many. And in fact, if I narrow it like I narrowed it before, using the filter over here to name of work, there's really only 1 review, or overview I should say, and maybe 12 reviews. So definitely not as much content as I had with Middlesex, and that's just based on the novel that you chose. And that kind of makes sense because that is a much newer book than Middlesex is. So if that's the case, where else can we go? Well, that leads to the third thing on my sheet that I want to show you. I'm going to go back to my sheet, and after we used Novels for Students and Literature Resource Center, we might move into the CA Library Custom Searches Book Review Search. I'm going to give Miss Click the link to the book review search to put on her Schoology page. But before I do that, or until I do that, I should say, I will say that it's in the CA Library Schoology group. So let me go over to Brave's link and close the library page and open up Schoology. There it is. And you probably heard me say before that the library is not part of courses. Of course, Mrs. Click's class is under courses, but the library is under groups. So I'm going to go into groups, and there's CA Library, and all of you are a member of the CA Library group. If we look in this resources tab over on the left-hand side, you'll see some of the resources that the library is sharing with you, including a folder called Google Custom Searches. And this is the book review search. And it's essentially a way to use Google to search the web, but for a look for very specific pieces of information from very specific places. And in this case, it's media outlets that are known for publishing good literary analysis. But again, you don't need to go through Schoology, or at least through the library Schoology page or group. I'll give this link to Mrs. Click, and it'll be in your course page, on your course page. But this is what it looks like, and it doesn't look like much. It's basically just a search box and a search button, but it's pretty powerful. And I'm going to use the same example I used before, water for elephants. Water for elephants. And I will go ahead and add Sarah's name just to help narrow it a little bit. Sarah Gruen. You see that I put water for elephants in quotations. That essentially forces it to search for that phrase rather than just those individual keywords, and search and see what we find. And there we go. The first result I see is a book review from the New York Times. And even though it says review, I'm not going to put it in the category as a book review. Like I said, book reviews tend to be short. Anything in the New York Times is going to have enough depth that you're going to be able to use it as a true literary analysis. And this will link right to the article. And there it is. Literary analysis for Water for Elephants. Like I said, much longer than a paragraph. You're definitely going to be able to use this if this is if this is the book that you have chosen for Miss Click. Lots of stuff here, and it's a great source. New York Times, one of the best places to go for literary analysis. And that's just the first one. We can go back and we see quite a few other results here. Now, this is a unique case because this is a case of a book being made into a film. And I see that a lot of these are from 2007, but a lot of them, and here's a 2006, but a lot of them are for the 2011. Turns out that the film came out in 2011. So if you're looking to focus specifically on the book, you would just look for the results that are dated around 2007 when the book came out. And those are the three places that I would recommend looking for literary analysis. Start in Novels for Students. The link is in Schoology on Mrs. Click's page. Take a look at Literature Resource Center. The database is in Braves link in the high school library folder. And if that doesn't pan out, then take a look at the CA Library book review search, which again will be made available on Mrs. Click's course page via a link. Again, sorry I couldn't be with you in person. This project is a lot of fun. It's kind of like a treasure hunt, unearthing all these great resources in the library, but we're making the best of this particular situation. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email me. You can get a hold of me through, probably the best way is my email address through school, which is just bateman@canandaiguaschools.org. Good luck.